Our next candidate is David Simon, president of NNData. Tell us about David, Barbara.
David has almost 20 years of public and private sector experience. He has extensive background in intelligence, security, technology, and defense initiatives. Most recently, he was the general manager at a Fortune 500 company where he launched big data and analytics practice for the Americas before leaving to start NNData. So, David, go ahead. Let's hear what you have to say.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Good afternoon. So I often say that when people are feeling inundated, when they're feeling overwhelmed with all the email, with all the data that they have, think about NNData. So that's kind of how we get people to remember who we are. But what happened is we're a machine learning, data ingestion, data integration, and data management tool suite. We found that the problem is that there was a whole lot of information out there and a lot of data. But ultimately, to make that data usable, you had to figure out how to get it into a format that was appropriate. And so the big secret is that many companies often report 70 to 80% of their time is spent in the pre-analytics phase. Before they ever get to the data, they have to spend 70, 80% of their time and a whole lot of money to make that data usable. And so we set out to build this machine learning technology and capability to automate the cleansing and normalization and ultimately the transformation of that data so that you could get a unified data format. And so as you can see in the first slide, the dirty secret or the secret behind most software analytic tools, business intelligence tools is that they don't tell you that all of this work is going on in the background. So all of the transforms, all of the pivot tables, all of the cleansing of that data is time, it is money, it is resources, it's people. And so they continue to throw those at the problem, and then all of a sudden you see a pretty picture on the front end, or you see this analytics product and you go, this is great, now where did that come from? And so the challenge of getting back to the source data and to determine authenticity of that data is often a challenge as well after you've done this cleansing. So we set out to build this tool, and so I'll show you. The tool is called Encompass. So think about encompassing your data. And what it was designed was to ingest data from any kind of format. So it doesn't matter, unstructured, semi-structured, or fully structured data. Doesn't matter whether it's coming in from your Excel spreadsheets or your PowerPoints or your Word documents or emails. Doesn't matter whether it's coming in from sensors in the IoT environment or other sensor data, or if it's coming from other social media or websites. Ultimately, we can ingest any of that data, and what we do is Encompass is designed to think about the day in the life of data. So first you need to ingest that data, and then once you've ingested that data, you need to quickly be able to become informed about what is inside of that data. What kind of data is it? What's your data density? Is there duplication in your data? So how do you very quickly determine how that, what your data is? And then lastly, how do you want to visualize or how do you envision your data being displayed? And so that's the model of Encompass, is that we take you through that whole process and we can do it in a very rapid sense. But the idea was the tool is designed to be a non-coding, non-proprietary plug-and-play approach to cleaning up your data and managing your data at the end of the day. And so what we do is we built it on NiFi. If you're not familiar with NiFi, originally designed by NSA, so high level of security, ability to scale at volume, and provides you that granular or cellular level type of security necessary when dealing with massive volumes of data. We leverage ELK or Elasticsearch all the way through to Kibana, so you can run this through in an open source environment. And then lastly, we have applied the libraries from TensorFlow and from Weka to allow for machine learning as you are transforming that data. And so ultimately the idea is to run that all through that process and then come out on the other side and say, well, where do I want my data to be visualized? Am I using a BI tool? Then you can plug and play with those BI tools. Or do I have my own custom applications or custom tools that I'm using? Then we can push it out in a CSV file or a JSON file or XML, depending on how you want to see that data displayed. And so we have the ability to push it in any one of those number of directions. So that is the walkthrough. In fact, the other thing that reminds me is, so we built it in AWS, so it is deployable in a cloud environment, or you can deploy it into your own cloud on-prem, or you can deliver it in a bare metal environment. In a couple weeks, we'll be announcing and releasing our SaaS model as well. So we have an enterprise version for government. But we also have a software as a service model that we are going to roll out here in a few weeks. So in a nutshell, that's Encompass, that's who NNData is, and I'll open up the floor to questions.
And we'll reserve the balance of your time. Go ahead.
I think that's great. I'll give you some great compliments. I love the name Encompass and Envision, so your marketers get kudos if it wasn't you. I like the concept, but it's not very clear to me where your application sits. So you're telling me it's software as a service, but you're also telling me that you're keyed in through APIs to a BI tool, to any of the backflow capabilities. I want to understand who's going to use this besides government. Does it have other resources? Because when I look at the design, it sounds very good, and everybody has too much data.
Yeah. So depends on the model, or so a couple different markets. If you want to address the smaller markets, the nonprofits, the small businesses, the mom and pop shops, it's designed where you can leverage our cloud instantiation, and you can move your data into that cloud environment and leverage the tool in that environment. So in that case, the data would coincide the data and our tool in the same environment, and we would provide you a front-end visualization tool.
And would it plug and play from the perspective of most data analytics tools take a lot of customization? They may or may not be sharing the information that you shared, but they do take a lot of customization before you ever get an answer. Does it automatically do a search and find and give you suggestions as it goes forward?
So on the first part, on the transforming, when you're starting to clean your data initially, the answer is no. But once you've cleaned up your data and started to fill those transforms, that's what that next part of the inform process is where we enter in with we call it the smart workbench. And so that smart workbench is where those libraries of machine learning capabilities reside. And so you can apply those machine learning tools. Even if you're a non-coding, non-IT person, you have the ability to click on these buttons to gain insights about your data quickly. So we take that big data challenge, the big data problems, and turn it into smart data.
So I'm challenged. You have used the term tool repeatedly. The term tool is not a product that is commercially acceptable in the general market. Okay, that implies that a developer or somebody or an integration shop is going to use it in the background. Is there a product in this thing, or is this a tool? I'm trying to figure out who actually will buy this and what your route to market will be, and if it's going to be through some channel. To me, it's an amorphous thing that, although interesting, I have a very difficult time figuring out where you're going to sell it or how you're going to sell it.
Okay. The product partners well, and anytime one from the perspective of a front-end visualization tool. So this simplifies that whole back-end process because. So
give me an example of who will buy this product in the commercial sector.
So in the commercial sector, if I'm in a CIO shop, or if I'm in the CIO shop, I know that I've got data that I need to put into, let's just say, I need to put in an SAP, or I need to put in some ERP solution, or I need to move all of my data. I just did a merger and acquisition. So now I'm trying to combine two major companies, all of their HR data, all of their finance data.
Who's buying it? I mean, right now I'm hearing some guy down in an integration shop is going to need a tool.
I would say ultimately your CIO shop is responsible for the buying behavior of it, but the capability would reside within, let's say for finance, it would reside within your CFO shop, because your CFO is having to combine dozens, if not hundreds, of spreadsheets of financial data across multiple business units and trying to make all that data look the same.
Okay, so if I'm running a HANA application in an in-memory environment across a broad base, I also am running 15 mainframes, running other things. What am I buying? So, am I going to buy? Is that a target to buy?
Let me, if you don't mind.
Please.
So, I think I have a pretty good idea of what it is you're doing, because first of all, I used to have a team of data science types who worked for me, and they spent an inordinate amount of time on the data cleansing. But one of the reasons why I think I know it is what this tool solution does is because I've seen it before. You've got some competitors How do you differentiate yourself from your competitors?
So one of the key differentiators within the government space is that one of the capabilities inside of this product, inside of the I call it a tool, but inside of the product is we can handle USMTF formatting of data and classification markings. So we can address your data spillage. And to date, I don't know of any of the data management companies that are capable of actually addressing. So think of inside of a JWIX environment or a classified environment where an email is being passed, and within there is several lines of data and attachments that may not be classified at the same level as which the original format of passing of the data was in.
So
30
that's great for
seconds.
me.
Yep.
And people like me because we care about that functionality.
Yep.
Are we your biggest market?
I think our biggest market is actually fintech. And so the other part of our differentiation is we do it in memory, in fact. So instead of having to address and deal with the data in an environment where you're having to create another repository, another space for cleansing of data, we're actually doing it in memory and doing a sampling of that data to transform it before we actually move it into your targeted
So
environment.
tonight I'm having dinner with the CISO for Bank of America and the CISO of Citibank. We're having dinner tonight. What would I tell him?
So if you wanted to apply this from a cybersecurity perspective, there is no tools out there right now that will run against all your log files, your sysadmin files, your user data files, your reports, and integrating all of that data.
That's it. Thank you, David.
So it's a pure integration issue.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
NNData, David Simon.